All right, I'm gonna go over one of my new favorite baits. Has three names. You'll hear it called the Midwest Finesse Rig. You'll hear it called a Ned Rig. That's probably the most common one you'll hear. But my personal favorite is the Turd Rig. The reason they call it the Turd Rig is because Z-Man, they're the ones that came out with this, and they call it the TRD rig. So naturally in the fishing world, everyone said, oh, it's a turd rig. So you'll hear it called any of those three things. Very simple setup, highly recommended for newer fishermen or anyone really. It's one of my now confidence baits that I go to. So what makes it this rig and kind of unique about it is it's a little jig head. Just a little rounded, sort of flat jig head. This one is weedless because you see it's got this little weed guard right here. You can get these without that weed guard, but unless you're fishing in water that just has, no grass or anything, or, whatever, I always use it with the weed guard personally. And I always take and trim my weed guards. And actually I do this with anything with a weed guard, jigs, anything, just something to know. I always trim, dang, I think I trimmed that a little too short. I'm an idiot. I like to trim it just beyond the point of the hook so that it's just right there. You don't need all that extra. That'll just hurt your hookup ratio. So this is one situation where I do recommend the brand because you can technically use like a Senko or another type of worm and you can rig it up with another one. But this brand, Z-Man, they make this... they call it an Elastec, and I think it's patented because these are the only ones that have it. And what it basically does is, unlike a Senko, if you take a Senko and go like this, you're just going to rip it in half. They're real soft and they're not durable. These are like rubbery and flexible, and I mean, catch 100 fish on the same bait. So they get a little costly, but they're well worth it because they last so long. And basically, all you do is you just take this dude, and you just run it straight up the hook like this. And sometimes they can be a little tough to rig at first because it's that elastic stuff. You got to kind of like really push it and kind of bunch it up on the head to get it around that little guard on there, that keeper they call it, that will hold it on. But once you got that thing on there, man, make sure you get it nice and straight so it looks natural. Like I said, you can catch so many fish on that. It's worth getting the name brand. And they make different sizes. This is the finesse turd. This is the big turd. Again, you can see it's a little bit bigger size. For ponds and stuff like that, smaller waters, I recommend the little 4-inch. And then they even make some like little ones that have legs, and they make a bunch of different ones. They all work, but I just go with the 4-inch. All you're going to do is you're just going to cast this thing out and let it sink. A lot like you would fish with a Senko. 95% of the time, the bass are going to take it on the fall. So right as you cast, you just let it sink. And as it's sinking, you'll see your line twitch or swim away. 95% of the time, they're going to take it on the fall. A lot of times, after it falls and sits, especially if you're in like a real grassy pond, I would just reel it in. You can work it back to the bank. So like a jig or something, you can kind of raise your rod tip, or, you can work it back to you, and you can catch fish working it back. But that's also where you're going to catch all the weeds and stuff like that. So just kind of keep in mind, one of my favorite ways to fish it is just cast it, let it sink. No fish, reel it in, cast it 5 feet to a different spot. Just keep doing that because that's how they're gonna bite it most of the time. They work a lot better in a little bit deeper water. So 6 feet and deeper is where this is really going to excel. I've fished it in 20, 30 feet of water. If you're fishing in a pond with like 2 feet, 3 feet, again, it's just so shallow. It's not a lot of room for this thing to work. But if you cast it near a fish and he sees it, he's going to bite it. So I would definitely still try this. I'm not saying don't try it in a pond. As far as line, you don't want to probably use, 20, 30 pound test, just because it's going to hurt the action. I'd probably go with like a 10 to 15 pound fluorocarbon leader for these. But yeah, man, they're real easy to make different weights. I would use the lightest one you can. In fact, this one I think is like an 1/8 ounce. If you're fishing those ponds, I would try to find even like a 1/16 of an ounce. Do the lightest one you can that'll allow you to still cast and get it out there. If you fish in deeper water, you may want to start going with a little bit more weight. But starting out, I would try to find like a 1/16 ounce and try to find the weedless ones. Also, I've had good luck on eBay looking for these. So you search, weedless Ned Rig jig heads. And I've had good luck getting them a lot cheaper on eBay. That's where I've bought them. But highly recommend you add this one to your lineup. This, Texas rig, Carolina rig, and a Senko. That would be my top 4 getting started fishing. And I guarantee you try this one, especially if you go check out that lake a little bit. I don't remember where it was, but you get into a little bit 6 feet and above deeper water. 100% I would throw this thing, and I guarantee you'll catch fish on them.